Hello everyone, my name is Ben, that's my spouse Colin,
Hello.
and our three sons, Thomas, Nikita, and Matthias. And we're Team 18. Recently we bought a beautiful plot of land near Woodstock, and we got to know our neighboring farmers a little bit. But we realized that they had some problems on their farms. Many of them were struggling to cope with the effects of climate change, the unpredictable weather patterns, as well as drier soils, increasing the risk of soil erosion. And they had to deal with invasive species as well. So we decided to adopt a number of agroecological solutions to help combat these problems on our farm, because we realized that our farm was not immune to these. These included adopting conservation tillage to return organic matter to the soil, agroforestry to reduce erosion and create habitat for insectivores, intercropping with wildflowers to create pollinator habitat, adopting a 4 vegetable crop rotation so that we don't exhaust any one particular soil nutrient, and lastly, adopting a silvopasture so that livestock fertilize their own grazing grounds.
One more thing that we decided to do is actually construct some greenhouses on the northeast corner of our property. We will be able to put any crops that are out of season or any crops that we require a larger quantity of in these greenhouses. Now, we have also constructed a timeline that outlines what we plan to do in our 10 years of the farm's occupation. During the first year, we will prepare the land for alley cropping, and we will also begin the removal of infected ash and elm trees, which have been victims of the emerald ash borer and the Dutch elm disease. We will also determine and begin a crop rotation, and finally we will prepare the farm for the change that is to take place. In the second year, we will focus on the social aspect of our farm and promote our sustainable practices to other farmers. We will also continue the alley cropping. In the third year, we will monitor the progress of our previous decisions, and we will also begin construction of the greenhouses. And by year 4, we will have hopefully finished the construction of at least 1 or 2 greenhouses, and we will begin sustainability workshops on our farm to once again promote our practices and help out our neighbors. In the 5th year, we will begin more actively selling our produce at farmers markets, and by the 6th year, we may even have established a shop on our own property. By year 7, we will have hopefully completed all the greenhouses, and years 8, 9, and 10 will simply be used to reevaluate the practices that we have put in place and see if there are any further changes that need to be made. Now, Matthias, talk to us about the wildlife aspect of our farm.
Our farm does reap the benefits of wildlife. As said before, we will intercrop flowers within our alley cropping. These flowers will be native species such as the blue stem goldenrod and the blue false indigo. These flowers will attract native pollinators, which will pollinate our crops. We will also save space for a woodlot, which will encourage native species to come to our farm, such as the northern cardinal, black-capped chickadee, and the endangered eastern meadowlark. These species will act as natural insectivores, which will help remove insects from our farm, thus lowering our costs on pesticides. We will also have chickens within our silvopasture because they produce manure and they are easy to move. Nikita, talk to us more about the silvopasture.
Thank you, Matthias. The silvopasture that we will put in place for our animals will provide our chickens with a natural grazing ground and a covered, sheltered area for them to live in. They also fertilize the crops using their own manure. The other thing that we can do involving forestry on our farm is implementing a windbreak along the borders of our farm composed of spruce trees. This will prevent soil erosion and overall improve the soil quality on our farm. One more thing that we have to address is the issue of the ash and elm trees, and we plan to exterminate the infected trees and use their ashes as a temporary fertilizer for some time. Later on, we will reevaluate to see if replanting is possible. And finally, we have to deal with the black walnut trees on our farm. These trees can be toxic to some other species of trees, however, most deal with it just fine. In the worst case scenario, we may have to introduce some selective cutting and remove some of those black walnut trees. Now, Thomas, talk to us about the aquatics of our farm.
Thank you, Nikita. Although it is true that we are fortunate to be blessed with great soil and healthy aquatic ecosystems, the same cannot be said for some of our neighboring farmers. And thus, we want to give some advice and tips for our local farmers to help them improve their aquatic ecosystems. Firstly, we highly recommend that they build riparian buffer strips or grow them or maintain them along the borders of flowing water that go through their land. This is beneficial because riparian buffer strips help to prevent runoff from reaching these ecosystems, which reduces eutrophication and prevents biodiversity loss in these places. Secondly, the waste from the riparian buffer strips can serve as a key energy source for these low-tech ecosystems, which is extremely beneficial to the farm as a whole. Overall, if we do use fertilizers that are organic, such as the ashes from the emerald ash tree, and we use measures to reduce soil erosion as a whole, we should see a decrease in the flow of phosphorus, whether that be dissolved or particle, going into the ecosystem as a whole, which will be beneficial to our entire farm. However, the key to all of this is how our soil absorbs the moisture and deals with water as a whole. Ben will elaborate on this.
Thank you, Thomas. So the two main agroecological practices we can use on our farm to maintain our soil health are conservation tillage and agroforestry. Conservation tillage involves keeping that organic matter in the soil, returning it to the soil through crop residues. This increased organic matter will introduce colloids into our soil, which will increase our cation exchange capacity and thus nutrient holding ability. It will also promote the formation of soil aggregates, which help soil pores form, and this in turn will help rainwater infiltrate into our soil, thus combating soil erosion. Further, because it's conservation tillage, we till as little as possible, helping maintain the soil aggregates we worked so hard to create. In terms of agroforestry, the trees will help combat wind and water erosion. Furthermore, trees act like sort of nature's pumps, taking nutrients and water from deep in the root zone up to the shallow root zone where our crops can use them. Lastly, the trees will provide shade, helping reduce evaporation from the soil, and this will, in turn, will help combat the problem that many of our neighbors are facing of drier soils. Now, Thomas and Matthias, talk to us about the social aspects of our plan.
Our farm will start creating workshops for other farmers to teach them about agroecological tactics. These workshops will go over things and teach farmers to make their farm more sustainable. But for farmers who miss the workshops, we made a YouTube channel for them called Organic Farmer 101. Talk to us about Organic Farmer 101, Thomas.
Thank you, Matthias. As previously stated, we are offering workshops, but unfortunately not all farmers can attend these workshops. However, to address this issue, we are creating an online resource in the form of YouTube videos, which can further promote and educate these farmers in new techniques, such as planting different types of habitat, pollinators 101, and cover cropping, which can benefit them as a whole. This not only will have a local impact, but perhaps a provincial and even national one, as YouTube spans across several borders. However, we also not only have to take into consideration just spreading the news, but we have to take into consideration all the other costs that are associated with our plan as a whole, and if the costs truly outweigh the benefits. Colin will delve into this.
Now, there are many different costs and benefits in running the farm this way. For example, some costs include the cost of seeds to feed our chickens, the cost of buying different seeds to plant vegetables and crops, as well as different greenhouses. We need to buy and build greenhouses, as well as hiring help into work the farm, help plant and harvest the different vegetables. However, the benefits far outweigh the costs. For example, the burnt ash and elm trees will act as a natural fertilizer along with nitrogen-fixing legumes and green manure. This green manure also has the added benefit of doing it, which will help cover the cost of the feed for the chickens. They will also be able to go to different farmers markets in the area, such as in Woodstock or in Thamesford. And also, as there's easy access to the 401, which is only minutes away, you can travel to different cities with larger farmers markets that are even farther away, such as London, Waterloo, or even Toronto. Now, there is also the ability with the new storefront that we'll be producing, we can help sell different vegetables without even having to leave the farm. Now, this is helpful because vegetables are worth a lot of money. As climate change has reduced the amount of growing season for vegetables, it has truly, the prices have skyrocketed, which will help us sell and make money. Now, while this method will be very difficult, we believe that the benefits far outweigh any costs that it may have. Thank you.
Thank you.